heartbreaking disappearance of 5-year-old Melissa and the sensational trial that followed. Caleb Hughes was found guilty of abduction with intent to defile in March of 1991 and sentenced to 50 years in prison. But after his release in 2019, Hughes moved to Rocky Mount, Virginia, where sources familiar with the investigation say he came up with an elaborate false cover story and befriended co-workers with young children. He was arrested in June after one of those co-workers found Hughes listed on the Virginia Sex Offender Registry.
I don't know the extent of what may have happened to those children, but those children were at a minimum placed in danger. And it was it was just extremely upsetting to me that he would be given that opportunity to do that again to another child.
A source familiar with the investigation says Hughes babysat a 9-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl multiple times during a 5-month span. In December 1989 and most of 1990, Caleb Hughes was the subject of an intense investigation. Police quickly identified him as a person of interest who had attended the holiday party. Prosecutors discovered what they described as incriminating fibers in his car and a gap in time he was unable to account for the night Melissa disappeared. There was an intense search for the missing 5-year-old, and her photo appeared regularly on the nightly news. Melissa has never been found.
At this point, we've not found anything today.
Brannen, born April 12, 1984, age 41, Virginia, U.S. She disappeared December 3rd, 1989, at the age of 5 in Lorton, Virginia. Status: missing for 35 years, 5 months, and 12 days. On December 3rd, 1989, a Christmas party with approximately 100 guests was taking place at the apartment complex where Tammy Brannen lived with her daughter Melissa. As they were leaving the party, Melissa headed back in to get some potato chips and never came back. When she was not found, foul play was suspected. A search began almost immediately, with over 300 volunteers participating. Groundskeeper Caleb Hughes became the prime suspect. That very evening, through witness accounts, multiple women reported that Hughes made cruel sexual propositions to them during the party, and others reported that Hughes had given usual levels of attention towards the children at the party, including Melissa. Police visited his apartment during the night, where Hughes' wife cooperated with police. The entire outfit of clothes Hughes was wearing at the time of the disappearance was found in the Hughes washing machine, including his shoes, with the sides of the soles cut off, possibly to remove blood evidence. His belt and a series of a large knife had immediately been put there for washing by Hughes himself when he arrived home. Police seized them as evidence. Police also took the red Honda Civic sedan with Hughes owned and examined the passenger seat with fiber evidence. A polygraph examiner concluded that Hughes showed evidence of deception, which questioned his role in Melissa's disappearance. Hughes' wife, Carol, was key in the investigation. She reported his arrival home from work several hours later than usual, and also that extra mileage was on his car's odometer. Her husband explained the mileage as a result from a side trip he took to purchase a six-pack of beer and then taking a longer route home. Hughes never explained why he had driven out of his usual way to come home. In an event, his story was improbable, as he claimed he had gone home around 12:30 a.m. Liquor stores in Virginia do not sell alcohol past midnight per state regulations. Fibers were extracted from the seat of the vehicle. The victim had been reported as wearing a Big Bird sweater and had been purchased from JCPenney. Investigators obtained identical outfit, and his fibers were compared to those found on the seat of Hughes' car. A match was found between the sweater and that the fibers in the car. Also found were some hairs from a rare rabbit fur coat worn by Tammy at the party. This evidence pointed towards the probability the victim had been sitting in the passenger seat at some point during the evening. Investigators were all but certain Hughes had killed Melissa, though Virginia law did not require a body of the victim to file murder charges. The law does require prosecutors to identify the location of the murderer. Lacking this evidence, Hughes was charged with kidnapping with the intent to defile, kidnapping as a prelude to SA. The fiber evidence was pivotal in establishing this charge, as prosecutors argued that there was no evidence reason to remove the girl's coat in the car and thus leave the dress fibers. Hughes was convicted of abduction with intent to defile on March 8, 1991, and sentenced to 50 years in prison. Two men with no connection to Brannen case attempted extortion via a $75,000 ransom demand. The men were arrested collecting the ransom. They were sentenced to 7 years and 8 months and 3 years and 10 months. In 1995, a search of lake was made after a power company worker found some red cloth in the lake. No evidence of a body was found. About 8 years after Brannen's disappearance, her mother remarried, although she took on the surname of her new husband, Gary Bill, as her own. She retained the name Brannen in listings so that her daughter, if still alive, would be able to contact her. Gray Bill has raised four stepchildren with her new husband. The story of her disappearance was told on the FBI Files in the 8th episode of the first season. It has also appeared on an episode of Forensic Files in the 5th episode of the fourth season entitled Innocence Lost. Caleb Darian Hughes was released from prison for good behavior on August 2nd, 2019. Having served 29 years of his 50-year sentence, he was made to register as a offender after his release Caleb Hughes was rearrested on May 31st, 2024 for violating ex offender special instructions, which include not having contact with anyone under the age of 18. He was sent back to prison with a new release date of 2039.